On behalf of Crosscheck Media and Biz Talk Today TV, welcome everyone to Wayve Wire. I am your host, Todd Schoenberger, and joining me as they do every week are the C-suite executives from Philadelphia-based Wayve Capital. I have the CEO, Joe Besecker, and the CIO, Rhys Williams, who is joining us from Mexico today. Fascinating technology. But I have to say, Rhys, we got to start. There's so much to talk about, but we have to start with this. So my question for you is, do you think that markets are underpricing risk or maybe overreacting to headlines?
I'm still in the underpricing risk in the short term because I do believe that we need a deal to avoid serious repercussions in the global economy. It's already starting to happen. You're seeing Sri Lanka and Thailand. I realize these are second-tier countries a bit, but they're already rationing gasoline. And the real problem is the world demands 100 million barrels a day of oil. We produce 100 million barrels a day of oil, but all the spare capacity is in Saudi Arabia. So if that 20 to 30% is knocked off, there just isn't any other thing but price to ration oil. So people talk about how great the U.S. production is, and it's really great for the U.S., but it doesn't do much for the rest of the world because we're basically at 100% refining capacity. So we can't really export more gasoline than we currently do. So I do think we're underpricing risk in the short term, and we've all found out now that Iran gets a say too when this war ends.
What do you think, Joe?
Well, I would don't want to really agree with Rhys because all I did was fight with him since last Friday. But I'm not saying we're either way. I think that it's still data dependent. And I would say that there's many individual stocks that have priced in the risk. The overall market indices may have not. So, I think that given the amount of horrible news that Rhys tells me every day and everybody else tells me, I feel like I'm fighting against the world. We're only down 4% in the S&P. Is that right? 4?
Is that right, Rhys?
So
given more, but we were up some. So
given the mountain
we've had about an 8 or 9% correction.
Given the mountain of monstrously bad news that you give me every day, Rhys, I would say that perhaps we have a little bit more downside, but I would say that I would be looking, anybody that listens, start getting your shopping list together. I call this an Ollie's market. Do you guys know Ollie's?
Of course, everyone
Ollie's
knows Ollie.
Bargain Basement. All right.
Yes.
It's good stuff cheap. So you go out just like they did, find the stuff they're throwing away that they didn't sell. And by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong at all with buying Ollie's. And I'm not making a recommendation, but I was just looking at this. They're going to open 75 stores this year. They've already done 25. They did 26 last year. Had great comps, great margins. They're doing share buyback. The big, beautiful bill will really go to the demographic, the older, more conservative demographic there. Their margins are good. Free cash flow is up. So in the retail space, good stuff cheap might be the name of the game.
Good stuff cheap, and it looks like probably most Americans will be shopping at Ollie's going forward, only because you have gas prices so high right now.
There's nothing wrong with it. Mark Butler, who was the CEO there for a long time, was private, and it's actually was based out of kind of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I knew Mark very well. Unfortunately, we were very good friends, and it was really sad for me is Mark and I used to go to the Final Four together. I probably went to 5 Final Four things with him. And we were big basketball fan. Guess who he was a fan of?
St. Joseph's?
Maryland.
Oh, Maryland Terrapins.
He was very, very, very tight with the Maryland crew.
Well, that's great. He's clearly smart. He's clearly a very smart guy.
But there are names like that, and I brought that up, but it's an Ollie's kind of market. Good stuff cheap. I think people will be happy if they buy the good stuff cheap now. It won't be so cheap later.
So, Rhys, you had today, you had oil, Brent's over 100. We know that. But now you have a few firms that are coming out that are actually throwing out some big numbers. I know Saudi Arabia actually had predicted over 180 in just a month from now. If that's the case, clearly that's going to hurt wallets here in America at the pump. What do you think, though, from a price elasticity? Are we looking at a real difficult situation in America for our U.S. economy over the next couple of quarters because of the war, or do you see some relief maybe coming, maybe from the SPR fund that we're sending out?
Release,
Yeah,
yeah.
release.
Well, if
Yeah.
oil goes to 180, we will be the best deck chair on the Titanic. However, I'm sort of with Joe, even though we disagree completely about bonds.
Oh boy.
I'm sort of with Joe that I think we're going to have some sort of deal in the next week or so, because I have to think Trump understands this at some level, and that the obvious deal to me is the Iranians get to stay alive. They can come out of their foxholes. They can be identified as leaders, and they'll let the Straits of Hormuz open, and there'll be some sort of regional council by the Gulf states which oversee that, because clearly there's very little trust between both.
What if Putin and Trump figure out some kind of energy summit for that? You're a Russian, you understand the Russian culture. I would suspect that it wouldn't surprise me at all if they somehow get a collaborative together and try to open up the straits, and they'll trust Russia a lot more than they'll trust us. And if we work in a collaboration with them, that might be a great thing.
I mean, that's possible.
Russia,
that's possible.
well, we don't need the oil, like you said, but China does. This is
I'm
hurting
not
China.
quite sure why Russia helps bail us out of
Because
this
then we'll back off
when
on
Iran is their ally.
we'll back
in
off.
fact, $180 a barrel works for them.
I would say they would back off. We would back off some of the pressure we have on them in the Ukraine war. There's got to be a tit for tat.
Yeah. Clearly, if we say we'll stop arming Iraq or Ukraine, then I think that would be a situation where they might do that. Maybe
I agree with you that something is going to happen.
That's a long shot possibility.
That's such a long shot, because then you're basically saying to the Ukrainians to surrender, and then that's it. They'll be done, because
I don't think Trump is nowhere near the. I don't know. I just somebody tossed that by me today, and I started to noodle it over. I think there's going to be some type of arrangements. Everybody has to deal from their best economic perspective. This is hurting many different countries, many things along the way, because energy makes the world go round.
So let me ask you this, Rhys. If you have oil that does say it keeps rising, we do hit the 150 mark per barrel. What do you think is going to break first, the market or the consumers?
Both. I mean, okay. I'm in your camp that if we're still talking about this May 1st, the market's 20% lower. I keep coming back to, I really got to think Trump understands this and will do something faster than that. But I think both will be in a world of hurt if we don't do something.
Well, we had this conversation last week, and you guys brought up May, and I said maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be May. I don't think. First of all, in the immortal words of Bruce Hornsby, this is just the way it is. We get paid to navigate the markets and the news and the background, and we have to try to make money in any kinds of markets. It will be clearly a problem in this K-shaped economy we have. It'll really hurt the bottom part of the K. Will it affect the top part? They'll pitch and moan like Rhys does every day, but it won't hurt them as bad. I see, and reading through the tea leaves yesterday, listening to Trump, I see some type of resolution well before May.
This is where I'm going to push back on to you guys, though. What kind of a deal are we talking about here? I mean, the deal is either a life or death at this point for the Iranians. There is no deal that they're going to be able to have. So,
and who do you deal with?
They either surrender, wave the white flag, or that's it. But it's one of the other.
Who do you deal with?
I guess Trump.
No. Who in Iran has the ability to do a deal with you?
Well, somebody's running things, because somebody launched.
If somebody puts their hands up and says, "I'm running," they ain't going to be around the next 2 days.
That's why you have to have a deal. I mean, that's clearly why you have to have a deal. So because they need to come out of their foxholes And so hopefully there's some behind the scenes activity going around, which will allow this to come to fruition.
It'll
Because
happen.
Oman knows who's in charge, and so Oman, could help cut this deal. And everybody needs a deal because Iran needs money to pay people too, right? I mean, this whole thing is about patronage, and unless you have money to feed that machine, you're going to have some very unhappy Iranian Revolutionary Guards as well. So everybody has an interest in getting the Straits of Hormuz open. And I just think what the administration has to move away from is we're not going to get regime change this time. And the sooner we realize that, the better.
Here's my thought. I don't think the Iranians, they know they're not going to beat us or not going to beat the Israelis. But what they can do is hit us at the wallet with the economy. And the way
Sure.
they do that is to send the Houthis in to start bombing every tanker to trying to get through the strait. It's just not going to happen right now. So, and that's where it's unregulated. That's where it's going to be tough. Now you're going to have to tell this gang to basically say, oh yeah, guys, you got to cool it now or else. And you know what they're going to say? They're going to say, F you, because they're not going to stop. So now we have to figure out a way to eliminate that gang that's down there in southern Iran. And that's going to be the real wild card here. And that's why this war is going to continue on deep into April, likely into May. And even then, when you start bringing everything back online and having ships go through the strait, we're well into third quarter here. I mean, this is why this is a huge issue. It's actually a Pandora's box right now. And I think that's where the real concern is right now on Wall Street. But Joe, you were about to say.
I think the Houthis are the JV of the JV of the JV of the Iranian group.
All right, Obama.
I think it would take us. Yeah, I'm using well, he always filled out brackets. He never did too well with that. I was rooting like hell for Penn last night, but
Me too.
but they weren't going to win that game. I did like North Carolina, Virginia Commonwealth took care of them, and I had that. But my point being is that we have taken out the varsity, we have taken out the JV, we have taken out the freshman squad. The Houthis wouldn't last 32 seconds. Can they cause some problems? Absolutely. This thing's going to get done in the right time, and when it gets done, we will have excised this cancer and then all the extra stuff around that. And in my view, this is my personal view, which I haven't changed, we will be a better situation unless there's a huge misstep along the way here, which still could happen. I'm agreeing with Rhys that there's danger, there's landmines, and there's mines in the water and whatever. But I think we'll get through this, and then we'll be better off. And I think that
Okay.
it's a good time to be shopping.
Good time to be shopping, going to Ollie's, that's for sure.
That's right.
Rhys, let's turn the page here on the Fed meeting. We had a critical Fed meeting this week. No decision on rates. Yeah, no decision on rates. They're holding steady. Rhys, in your opinion, though, do you think that this was really because there was zero action on the monetary policy side? Does that come across as a tightening, though?
I think Warsh was talking, not Warsh, excuse me. One of the governors was talking this morning about how he was he was the one that dissented last time, didn't dissent this time. And his thinking is, hey, this Iranian war situation is going to last longer and has a lot more inflationary problems for the U.S. economy. And that's why he
Wallen, I think.
Wallen, yes, excuse me. And so for that reason, I do think that there's potentially, I mean, I think the market thinks that there's a 50% chance for a rate increase by October, and that was certainly an unthinkable thing just 3 weeks ago before the war. So I think the Fed's in a tough place. I mean, they got to be tough on inflation. They can't let this get away from themselves. And I think the hope is among lots of people that there's some sort of deal soon to stop this war. But I do not see them cutting rates until you have a negative economy in an inflationary environment.
I will wear a Dallas Cowboys jersey and hat on this thing if they raise rates anytime this year.
I'm just passing on what the market is not discounting. I'm not saying whether they will or not.
I think that's fear mongering, like a lot of what you do.
Can you go to Fanatics and order
it's the market.
a jersey? Yeah, thanks. Well,
And
Joe,
wearing a Dallas Cowboy hat and jersey would send me into some type of shock.
yes, you would be. You have the shakes. But Joe, I want to ask though, with that, you're talking about rate hikes. I mean, you have a new chair that's going to go in there, Kevin Warsh. He's put
Mhm.
in there for the reason to cut rates. If he can, I mean, we're talking about rate hikes. Do you think we'll still get rate cuts this year?
It's harder to do it now for Ding Dang sure.
Right.
That actually of the things that bother me, that bothers me more than some of the other stuff. It- it's it's gonna look. Looks how things have changed since we've been speaking since December. There's lots of changes. I don't know what can go on. I can tell you one thing that I do not believe that the job market is as healthy as we need it to be.
Oh,
And I think that I think they're going to try their damnedest, but they'll never raise rates. If that happens, like I said, I'll be in my cowboy gear.
okay.
So
Well, rate hikes,
I think
oil,
I'll make a tepid bet that we get one between now and the end of the year. One cut, one cut.
one cut. Okay. Well, there are some economists out there that are still predicting the one cut. However, futures
It's
right now are
not.
actually saying
I'm not pounding the table on that.
you're not going to pound. It's not a
And
pizza
not
bet
only
here.
that, not only the market isn't either, because if you look at the financial services stocks and the bank stocks, they're not looking so frisky right now.
Yeah. Okay. So what about that, Rhys? I mean, we have futures that are giving us an idea that we're not going to see a rate cut until summer of 2027. Are you of the belief that that will happen?
I just don't know. I mean, I do think if we can cut the rate, if we can get this war, it all depends on when this war ends. If this war ends soon, then yes, definitely we can cut rates. And obviously the second thing is Warsh has to get confirmed, and that's not going to happen until they drop charges.
Well, I've opined on this. This is where I do disagree with Trump. Although Todd is the one that brought there might be more of the story behind the scenes, but I think it's petty on both parts. I did not think that the Fed chair looked so great, basically taunting Trump from there saying, well, I'm staying, he wants this suit dropped and he's defending the Fed. I get that because he's not necessarily going right after him, Powell, but he's going after the whole Fed. I think both of them should just agree to put the thing aside and they can have a pissing match somewhere in the men's room.
Well, I'm
This doesn't do anybody any good, in my opinion. It's one of the few areas I agree with you, Rhys, on sometimes Trump's behavior.
Well, here I will share this with you. I'm of the belief because
Yeah,
when I heard Chairman Powell say, "I'm going to stay," if there's
right,
nobody to succeed him in that role, he is
right.
staying in the role as chairman. I think that was by design
Oh,
because
I was, but I don't agree. I don't think he should have done that.
well, because he knows the White House doesn't want him in the role,
Right.
so why not
It
drop
was
the
he
charges?
was doing a double bird to him.
Yeah,
Oh, but how
because
many
Senator
birds has
Tillis
Trump
would
done to
drop the
Powell?
I,
I think Powell's been remarkable in terms of not pushing
Up
back.
until then, I thought he lowered himself.
I mean, Trump every day on Truth Social tells everybody what an idiot Powell is. None of which serves him well. But we'll
But it didn't serve Powell well to I know you are and so are you. You
yeah.
know,
Yeah, but what he's doing is he's forcing the hand of the White House to drop the charges because Senator Tillis already said that they're not going to have a confirmation hearing for Kevin Warsh. So as a result, if they drop the charges, now you can have Warsh get confirmed. That then means that Powell steps down. But like Powell said, he might stick around anyway. So he's leaving that out there as a wild card. And I think that's where the big middle finger comes up
I think
from
that should
Powell.
be done behind the scenes. I understand that Trump's pounding on him, but sometimes you got to be above the fray.
Yeah, but it was very exciting, that's for sure. So, what about that, Rhys? Though, let's talk about that. We'll conclude the show with this because I want to know what your thoughts are here. Are we going to see the DOJ drop this investigation on Chairman Powell? And if not, and Kevin Warsh isn't there, and then you have Powell that's sticking around, what is that going to tell for the stock market? I mean, that type of uncertainty cannot be healthy.
Well, I personally think anything that promotes Fed independence is a good thing. So if Powell sticks around because Trump insists on continuing with these charges. I don't think that's so bad, actually. I think anything that gives the Fed independence is a positive for the US dollar. It's a positive for the rule of law in the United States. It's a positive for moving away from the, one king decides all that we have had in the last year. So I actually think that's good. And I really do think down deep, even Joe, who likes Trump, one day there'll be a
Wait.
president, AOC, and he's not going to like her having control of the Fed. So I do think having an independent Fed is just really great for the U.S. economy.
You don't get any disagreement with me. I am not a forever Trumper. I do like some of his policies, and I do like some of the things he does. Do I like his style? You know me, Rhys. It's not. I'm a little confrontational, but I don't like that. I will admit, I thought it was funny. I don't think it was presidential yesterday when he answered the reporter from Japan.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a little much, but
Yeah.
sometimes you have to separate the ding dong commentary he does and that's where you have a problem. Is you got to separate that from his actions and what he does.
Yeah.
And I think that most of what he does now, he's got himself into a bit of a pickle here by deciding to do what he did. I think he went. I find it almost knee slapping silly that people say he didn't know they were going to block the straits. Get that, I don't have, like my son teaches second grade. I know second graders that can figure that out.
Well,
So I just think.
He doesn't appear to have any plan to do anything about it.
That's
where
the
do you
thing.
come up with that? Is he gonna? What he's gonna do, Rhys? He's gonna call you up, Rhys. This is what I'm thinking, bud. All right. I said, tell me when you went to war college. Tell me when you went to Carlisle to the war college.
What's the plan?
Well, you don't need to know. You're on a need to know. You're on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know.
We have before the war, and then when the war doesn't work out perfectly, we want them.
It's been 2 weeks and days, you knucklehead.
It's been 3 weeks actually.
Before the war,
it's not been 3 weeks.
Is he trying to get them to come back? The answer is yes. So that tells me we didn't really have a plan.
Here's my thought, though. Don't you agree that do you think that maybe President Trump, just going on a hunch here, might have figured that the Iranians were going to crumble? We've hit, 8,000 targets or something crazy like that, and they have yet to step down. They have yet to stop firing missiles.
But they're firing. Next thing you know, they'll be firing, 4th of July fireworks. I mean, it's silly. They're not doing any damage. They're going to take care of what they do. They got to get the rest of the nuke stuff. Listen, like I said, Bruce Hornsby, all right? It's just the way it is. We got to deal with it. And when it finishes, it finishes. The straits will open up. I don't know exactly when, but I will know this. Anybody that's piling in to think that we're going to be at a sustained $200 barrel oil is going to be sadly mistaken.
One thing I can agree with Joe, and I'm just looking at my own portfolio, and things that have something to do with AI are doing okay in this environment.
That's right.
And it's everything else that's not really doing very well.
Well, remember,
behind a secular story like that, then at least you can outperform in this.
Do me a favor, and once again, I do own this. I didn't own Ollie's, but I do own this. The Emerald Life Sciences Fund. The symbol is LFSC. Watch what that's done during this downturn. It hasn't done poorly at all. It's done okay. So there are areas of the market that will not be affected by all of this discourse that we have. And I got to give Rhys all the credit in the world. I'm not allowed to talk about numbers, but Rhys is navigating his straits of Hormuz really well right now. And the Wayve Capital clients are doing really pretty well, all things considered. So we may go back and forth, but Rhys is doing a really good job as far as figuring this stuff out.
That's what he is.
I just don't want him.
It's super narrow, and that's why I think that, we haven't totally priced in all the risk yet.
Well, and I told you at the beginning, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't think as the market averages, but you and I both know there are names underneath that have look. I mean, Micron the other day and Nvidia. These stocks should not be down what they're down, given the type of earnings. Not only the earnings they have now, but the earnings that they're going to have over the next 2-3 years. but it is what it is. So that's
It is
just
what
the
it
way
is.
it is.
There you go. I love that. Well, I got to say, Rhys, your gold star again for you this week. And it's obvious that the Wayve Capital.
Oh, by the way, how's gold and silver doing?
And they're not good. They're not doing
No
well at all.
kidding.
Copper's at a loss for the
No
year right now.
kidding.
Yeah, very bad. But I
Not-
got to say, the Wayve Capital clients, they're not going to have to shop at Ollie's anytime soon because of what Rhys is doing.
Nah,
So
go
that's
to
awesome.
Ollie's. If I own it, I want them to shop.
Not every name is doing great. I don't want to tell you. I don't want to say that. AI.
I didn't say that. I'm just talking about your portfolio. No, not every name's doing great. This is the kind of market it is.
Yeah.
Rhys
And
is
some of the stuff doesn't make sense.
Rhys is the Charlie Munger of Philadelphia. That's how I know him. No, that's
Hey,
great.
Charlie!
That's awesome. Guys, this was fantastic. We're going to leave it there. I know you guys want to catch March Madness, so that's fantastic. I know there's a lot of big games going on today, so I appreciate you taking the time today. But we'll see how everything rolls out later on.
Todd?
Joe? Yeah?
Todd?
Yeah.
Guess who I'm watching the afternoon games with? A name we mentioned maybe a month ago.
Len Elmore.
No.
Oh, Ralph Sampson.
Ralph Sampson. I'm
No
gonna be
kidding.
with Ralph Sampson this afternoon. I guess Virginia plays this afternoon. He's in
They
Philly,
do.
and I'm going to go down. I mean, he's a good guy, and maybe we'll get him on sometime.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Well,
He's
I'm
a
big
smart
fan.
guy. He's a smart guy. let me
Oh,
tell you.
yeah. Well, he went to Virginia. So, yeah, he is. So that's awesome. So on behalf of Joe Besecker and Rhys Williams, I am Todd Schoenberger. Thank you once again for joining us today on Wayve Wire. Coming up at 2:15 today live, we have the Torres Report with Jose Torres, senior economist from Interactive Brokers. He's coming on live to tell you, break down everything that happened with the Fed meeting this week and what you can expect going into next week. It's a show you will not want to miss. 2:15 live today. Until then, take care.